Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Football Today. This Monday, August 4th. We have a big week for you. We have running backs and wide receivers previews on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have a mailbag also on Friday, so you get a bonus episode this week. Today, we're talking about rankings, risers, and fallers, basically based on what's been going on in training camp. And we got preseason football right around the corner. So we're pumped. I'm Adam with Dave, Jamie, and Heath. Thank you all for watching and listening to our show. If you're watching, hit the like button. If you're listening, leave a review. I don't know. If you want to send an email, it's fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. Today, in addition to...
Before you keep going, read Corey's comment. Why does Corey think that that Heath's not a reason that we're late?
Okay. Corey says, Jamie is late, had to find a hat. Dave is late, couldn't find a button-up shirt to wear over his T-shirt. Adam is late. He's putting up his Tyreek Hill poster. You know, I'm actually getting a little concerned about Tyreek Hill. I don't love what he said about Achane. It wasn't great. I don't think the Dolphins liked what he said about Achane. It's in the news and notes today. I saw what Mike McDaniel, 100% honest with you, I saw what Mike McDaniel said about what Tyreek Hill said about Achane, that Achane shouldn't be the short yardage back. And I couldn't tell if it was real or if it was an AI fake. Like, you've seen all these.
The whole thing's a joke.
Is it?
Yes.
I hope so.
Are the Dolphins going to finish last in the division?
No.
You know, when Pete Prisco was there, he was asked about the AFC East because he was on with Jacqueline D'Agostino, one of our HQ hosts. And he said, yes, they're going to be the worst team in the AFC East. He said he likes the Patriots' improvements, thinks the Jets will be improved as well, and the Bills are the class of the division. And he got so much crap for that. It's unreal how many people think he's wrong. It's going to be an interesting division, I think, after the Bills.
I mean, worst defense in the division, right?
It depends on how much you buy the Patriots improving and the Jets improving, but I would think so. Their secondary is awful. Like all these glowing things about Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's playing against guys up the street.
Yeah, I don't think they're guys up the street. I just think they're old corners at this point. It's Mike Hilton. It's Jack Jones. Jack Jones isn't that old. Minka is there. But they've got an unreal pass rush. No, the Dolphins have an unreal pass rush, at least on paper. But if they stay healthy, if Tua stays healthy, they might finish third in the division.
Their secondary couldn't get a job until the start of training camp. I mean, of course, they're guys up the street.
I forgot to welcome everybody to Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Let's talk about risers and fallers. I also want to talk about offenses that have produced multiple start-worthy wide receivers and a start-worthy tight end over the past 5 seasons and what they have in common. And we're going to hit on Caleb Williams today. We're going to talk about who else? Tank Bigsby today. He's having a good camp. Caleb Williams is not having a good camp. I'm going to look back at last year's notes this time of year, about a year ago, and talk about who was supposed to be a camp riser at that point based on reports. Just got a comment that Heath looks like Christian Bale, and I don't even think Heath put that one up.
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, let's get a riser and a faller from all of you. Dave, kick us off with a rankings riser for you.
I have moved up Kyler, and he's now a top 12 quarterback. He might have been a top 12 quarterback for Jamie and Heath all along. I don't know. But I'm kind of toying with the idea of putting him top 10, if not higher. I love that he wants to run more. We know that that's just part of the appeal of quarterbacks in fantasy leagues, whether it's 6-point or 4-point. Reviews have been positive out of Arizona. You want to talk about a defense that's got a struggling secondary. Arizona has that, and their pass rush isn't as good as Miami's. It's improved, but I don't think it's as good as Miami's. And I think that Kyler could end up having a nice bounce back year. So I'm weighing him against the Jared Goffs and Justin Fields of the world. To some people, that's going to sound obvious. Of course, Kyler should be ahead of those guys. But I do think that there is potential for Kyler to finally have a very good year.
Heath, who are you moving up in your rankings?
Tetairoa McMillan. He's a first-round rookie wide receiver. Some people thought he was the best wide receiver, pure wide receiver in this class. And all of the reports out of Carolina, it's just day after day, he is the number one wide receiver there. He's winning in a variety of ways. And I would just, in that wide receiver 3 range, I'd rather bet on the guy who might be a star.
And is there anyone in his range that has more target upside than Tetairoa McMillan?
I think that's the interesting question is what's his target upside? Could he, with his pedigree, And we've seen Bryce Young just zero in on one guy. I mean, I hate to put a limit on it.
140?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Tetairoa McMillan or well, I know one guy that you have moving down in your rankings is Jerry Jeudy.
I still have Jeudy ahead. I just moved him down into more of the normal range.
But that was the first name that came to mind, Adam, when you mentioned target upside, because Jeudy could obviously be a huge target hog based on what we saw last year. Now, I do think the health of Cedric Tillman and what the quarterback situation throughout the year might be, because it sounds like Flacco's going to win the job. We make an announcement, by the end of the week at this point, based on how things are going with injuries and whatnot. So that's great, but it's a matter of, how many games will Flacco be there? Because once they do make a potential quarterback change, then where do the targets go? And how much do they continue to feature Jeudy? Plus, I think the run game's huge to all of this. If Judkins does get an opportunity to play, or if it's just an improved backfield with Ford and Sampson and just a lot of speed, they could lean heavily on their ground game to take some pressure off of everything there.
All right, Jamie, let's get one of your rankings risers.
Let's see. I'll go with somebody different. I'll go on Omarion Hampton. Basically a borderline top 12 running back at this point. The longer that we have Najee Harris's absence and the potential of what this kid could be. At this point, I'm taking him over James Cook without hesitation, just to give you a guy who's moved down in that range. So he's now RB14 for me. If Walker's foot injury that he apparently dealt with during the scrimmage over the weekend is something that's a problem, sounds like just rest, but just something to keep an eye on there, knowing his history and something that he dealt with this offseason, then he'll move to 13 and, could creep into the top 12, like the longer Najee's out. So if Najee's going to continue to miss practice, it's just more of a benefit for what Hampton could become. Now, if Najee comes back, then I'll change some of my expectations, but drafting right now, I'm very excited about Hampton as a borderline round 3 pick.
That's kind of interesting, because if you're drafting right now, do you have to do that under the assumption that Najee Harris will be back before the season starts, and we have to move Hampton down, I guess, from where you have him right now?
I think there's a couple of things at play. We had the obvious injury to Najee, and we don't know how long this is going to linger. Clearly, it's not knee, hamstring, ankle. Once his eyesight improves, I would assume that he's going to, come back and have some semblance of a significant role. But obviously, Hampton's had the opportunity to prove himself and establish himself as the guy. And then you had the weird thing following the draft. I don't remember what month it was. I can go back and look it up, of when they put Najee on the trade block, reportedly. How much of it is there really going to be a 50-50 split, a 60-40 split? Is Najee Gus Edwards, and just a guy that they use because they feel like they have to, and not necessarily focus on the explosive player who could be dominant. And we saw that with Dobbins last year. When he was dominant, he was really good. So I don't know. It's just more excitement for Hampton, I guess, than really what Najee and what he can do. You know how I feel about it. Like, I think these veteran guys matter too much sometimes because they do the right thing. He doesn't fumble. He gets, he falls forward. So
when you say Hampton's a borderline round 3 pick, does that mean like where is he closer to round 2 or round 4?
Oh, he's closer to round 4.
Okay.
He's in round 4 for me right now. He's not a round 3 pick.
I'm putting him in round 3. I think the cat's out of the bag, Adam. This dude's good. Yeah. He got an opportunity to show his coaches how good he was. I know he played in the Hall of Fame game. That used to mean bad things. Now I just think it means that, Chargers wanted to give him some reps, and he's a rookie, so he's going to get treated like one in this regard. I thought he looked okay. Not in a bad way. I shouldn't say okay. He looked good in the Hall of Fame game, but he was running against backups. I would imagine that there's probably a greater chance that Hampton goes wire to wire as the Chargers' best running back because of what happened to Najee to sideline him for the start of training camp.
Okay, so maybe start considering him late in round 3, but still after Bucky Irving, Chase Brown,
yes.
Kyren Williams, or Omarion Hampton?
Kyren.
Hampton.
Heath?
Omarion Hampton could be anything. He could even be Kyren Williams. I'm like a round and a half apart on these guys. So I'm the high guy on Kyren and still the low guy on Hampton. So I don't have those guys very close.
All right, Heath, who's the faller for you?
You mentioned it, so I'll just go ahead and say it. I did move Jerry Jeudy down a little bit, and part of that is just like we all do this when we realize we're 2 rounds higher than we have to be on a guy. You move him down a little bit. And part of it is Cedric Tillman's getting some good buzz with Joe Flacco. I love the fact that all the talk is Flacco is about ready to be named the starter. But maybe it's more of a 3-way cut up between Jeudy, Tillman, and Njoku, and not just Jeudy and Njoku. But I still think, like, I'm still way ahead of ADP on Jerry Jeudy, and I'm still going to draft him all the time.
Where are you taking him?
4 or 5 turn.
Great.
Does anybody think Deontay Johnson is another thorn in the side?
I do. And I think Harold Fannin too. Sounds like he's had a strong camp so far to start. And so we may see just a lot more options than what we were looking at the end of last year when it was Jeudy and Njoku, when Tillman had the concussion. Remember, it was when they traded Amari Cooper, the first couple of games, Tillman was better than Jeudy. And then Tillman, I think it was game 4, game 5 of that stretch, he suffered the concussion and was basically out for the season. So do all these guys matter? I think they do. I mean, look, Deontay Johnson, you haven't heard a peep about him being a problem in the locker room, at least anything publicly. And again, they like what they have in Fannin as a potential option just to take some targets away from whoever, could be at Njoku's expense, could be at anybody else's expense. But I think just the ceiling of what Jeudy was last year, you just got to lower it a little bit. So, Heath obviously has a strong take on how good he could be. And it's hard to argue how he finished last year, just based on the potential of what Flacco was in 2023. So I factor in a little bit. Like, I would take McMillan over Jeudy at this point.
Right. So how about Jameson Williams or Jerry Jeudy?
Williams.
Jeudy for me.
I believe I have Jeudy ranked higher in PPR.
Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy?
Smith. That's more of a belief
Jeudy.
of the Eagles' run game being a little bit of a problem too.
I'll take Jeudy.
All right. Dave, let's get a follower for you.
Kyren, just it's lack of buzz with him, a little bit more buzz about Hunter and how he's physical. And I feel like until we get that contract extension for Kyren Williams, I'm just going to be skeptical of how much this coaching staff really loves him. And I'm nervous that he could be a couple of fumbles away from going on the bench. All of his efficiency metrics were terrible last year, certainly compared to 2023. And then you throw on top, and I've dragged my feet with Puka and Devontae, and I haven't moved them down an inch. But if there's a problem with Stafford that ends up costing him time this season, then we are overrating every single Ram. And that'll include Kyren Williams with a backup quarterback in that offense. It'll mean bad things for the entire run game. It'll mean bad things for everybody in LA. So I'm just skeptical of Kyren Williams being as good as he was last year. And he wasn't as good last year as he was the year before. I'd rather take the upside shot on Hampton.
Okay, this feels like a good time to bring something up because I was looking at the show notes from a year ago. We did basically the same episode, Camp Risers. And here's a segment. I put it in my notes. I didn't listen back to it, but I just put it in my notes. Having a good camp. So I'll give you 2 guys. I'll just go through it. Will Shipley, Adonai Mitchell, Khalil Shakir. In fact, I had a report. Joe Biscaglia of The Athletic says Khalil Shakir has been one of the most consistent and dependable players at Buffalo camp. Jalen Polk, Marshawn Lloyd, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Greg Dortch. I don't know if you remember that week where Kyler Murray was saying all of his wide receivers are going to be good. Andre Yoshevitz and Zach Ertz. But you'll notice.
So
Will
3 of
Shipley,
those guys.
Yeah, no, it wasn't all bad. But you notice Will Shipley, Adonai Mitchell, Jalen Polk, Marshawn Lloyd, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison. I feel like this must happen every year.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Especially. I think if you hear that a veteran's doing well in camp, you should put more stock into it than when you hear a rookie's doing well in camp. They're never going to say a rookie. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. But rookies are going to get positive buzz. The expectations are so, no, the standards are so low, I think. Just come in and look good or whatever. So, like the Jarquez Hunter thing, I don't know. I feel like I'm taking that with a grain of salt, for example.
Yep, 100%.
Well, he's behind Corum too, right?
Right. That's the other thing. Like Corum's.
But they're all getting first-team reps. But that's camp. I'll admit that is definitely part of.
I think the just while you bring that up, Adam, we just got something from one of the Chicago beat writers about how Ben Johnson said the 2 pass catchers he trusts the most right now are Cole Kmet and DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm. But he also said Kyle Monangai.
Oh, and Odunze, I'm sorry.
Right. He also talked about his, I think, 7th round rookie running back Kyle Monangai.
Gave him first team reps.
Right. So this stuff's going to happen. All right. So Kyren Williams, we'll talk about on the running back preview tomorrow, but Dave won't be on that show. So Heath and Jamie will give their takes. Dave is, I think, the low guy on Kyren. And Jamie, we're up to you. Give me one follower in your rankings.
Getting more and more concerned about Jayden Reed. Just the scrimmage that they had over the weekend where he was not playing in 2 receiver sets and was basically just their slot guy. And it seemed like all the targets were going to Golden and Dobbs. But just really the playing time. I mean, this could be a huge issue for Reed. So I was in the Reed over Golden camp. I've changed that. And so just dropped him a little bit. I still think he's somebody worth taking a flyer on. I shouldn't say that. He's still somebody worth drafting. But in terms of who's the Packers pass catching options that I'm most interested in, Tucker Kraft would be one. I know he's got the groin injury, so hopefully he's okay. Golden would be 2. And then at this point, Reed is now a distant 3rd from those 2 guys.
Wow. That's interesting. He averaged 63.2% of the snaps last year. That's just not a lot. Luckily with Reed, last year he had 20 carries for 163 yards and a touchdown. And I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front. Oh, yeah. And in the year before that, he had 11 carries for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. So you probably get at least 100 rushing yards from Reed if they keep using him, maybe even more, maybe 150, who knows. But yeah, it's 63% of the snaps is not the recipe to being a reliable fantasy receiver.
Especially with what they did with their targets last year. You know, like,
yeah,
you can't have a breakout season at less than 100 targets unless you're just, James Jones.
So the FFT Open spots, the invitations have been sent. There are 4 spots left in the FFT Open in John Breach's league. If anybody wants to still be in it, we have 4 spots left. They could be gone by the end of the day. So please go to tinyurl.com/2025FFT and sign up for the FFT Open, tinyurl.com/2025FFT. Also, later today, we are going to have a lot of things available for auction. Okay, we're going to have spots in the podcast league, a spot in the podcast leftovers league. Heath is starting a new dynasty league. Okay, you get to play with, I'll be in that league. Jamie's going to be in that league. I'm not sure about Dave. Dave, you going to be in that league? I haven't figured it out yet. Okay. Schneier is going to be in that league, and then some other analysts and some listeners. It's going to be another amazing dynasty league. But if you just go to tinyurl.com/2025FFT, by midday today on Monday, you're going to see a lot more items to bid on or to purchase, and including mailbags, including drafts. We do a live draft every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. You can be part of that. So just check out the website. But I really need you to accept your invitation to the FFT Open if you are in. They've all been sent out. I am currently in 24 leagues and getting emails throughout the day. This person has accepted your invitation, and then the message board. So my phone is constantly buzzing, but I'm super happy. I'm super excited about it. And thank you all for being in it. Now, if you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, let's do that. All right. Use the bonus code FANTASY. We have an awesome offer for you on BetMGM. Use the bonus code FANTASY, and you're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. And here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FANTASY. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use the bonus code FANTASY when you sign up on BetMGM. And we'll be right back on FFT. Okay, we're going to do more risers and fallers in a bit. I wanted to should we do the Twitter poll? Is the Twitter poll interesting?
Very.
All right, let's get that Twitter poll up there. I said, in terms of injury risk only, do you consider Saquon Barkley safer than Christian McCaffrey? Injury risk only, do you consider Saquon Barkley safer than Christian McCaffrey? I put this up an hour ago, 682 votes, 74% yes, 26% no. Oh, Schaefer's going to vote live on the air. What are you going to say, Schaefer? You're going to say, what's it going to be? Oh, he says yes. Okay, he considers Barkley safer than Christian McCaffrey. Would anybody here say no? Or is everybody a yes on this? Barkley is safer in terms of injury risk than McCaffrey.
I don't know how you could say no to this. I mean, just given what they're coming off of.
Right.
That's what he said.
It's I think that somebody, if Adam was better at doing Twitter polls and had put I don't care about injury risk, or they're the same, or see results, then there would be another option to click besides yes. But as you framed the poll, I think yes is probably right.
Well, this is
Actually,
the
safer
argument.
in all caps. Like,
Well, because I wanted to make sure nobody misinterpreted it. So we have a comment in the chat that said recency bias.
Big time.
Here's the thing: Barkley's played 7 seasons. McCaffrey's played 8.
This is the best Azer stat in
After
the history of Azer sets.
After their first 7 seasons, they had missed basically the same amount of games. McCaffrey 23 games, Barkley 22 games, I think. And then last year happened, and he played 4 games. Christian McCaffrey played basically 3.5 games. It was an absolute mess. So I understand why people are saying that, but Barkley's safer. But I don't know how you could have answered that, confidently last year, because Barkley himself has had a lot of injury history, and he's coming off a 480 touch season, and McCaffrey is not. And McCaffrey is like 7 months older or 8 months older than Saquon Barkley. So he's older. He's not that much older.
it's an interesting correlation too, because 2023, McCaffrey goes to the Super Bowl, has 417 total touches, comes back the next season after a lot of work, and obviously plays 4 games. Again, you don't want to see that for Barkley, but still, Barkley goes to the Super Bowl, has over 480 total touches. So it's the amount of games, it's the amount of touches. It's like it's nerve wracking. I get it. I was in an analyst draft over the weekend for the flex leagues. I don't know about the other drafts. There's 5 of those that happen. 2 of them are live. 3 of them will be online. Adam, you're the defending best ball champion. Congratulations.
Yeah, baby.
Barkley went 2 in half PPR. So it went Chase 1, Barkley 2. And I get it. You want to buy into him still having this great offensive line, this great system, everything that he accomplished last year. I'm nervous. I know Heath is somewhat not. Dave and I think, share the same sentiment that, the work, you hear me say it all the time, the history of 2,000-yard rushers and what these guys have done the previous year. They're still very good. They lose 500 yards. Every single one has lost 500 yards rushing. So it's going to be interesting. The worst thing that's going to happen, I hope he doesn't get hurt. Like, if he struggles and he's like the 4th best running back, the 5th best running back, you're still going to get a pretty good return on investment. The receptions are hard to buy. The touchdowns are still going to be an issue as long as Jalen Hurts is there. I hope it's not an injury situation, and that's what we're saying, who's right and who's wrong on this side of the argument.
And it's not like we're saying he should be a 2nd rounder or 3rd rounder. For me anyway, I don't know where you guys have him ranked. He's a top 10 fantasy overall pick. There's no question about it. You just can't expect what he did last year. And what he did last year was 22.2 PPR points per game. If McCaffrey plays a bunch of games this year, I would be shocked if his number is that low. So I think as far as like upside goes, McCaffrey's got it over Saquon. And so I try not to even think about like the injury concern with Saquon, his own track record. The last 2 times he had over 260 carries in a season. He missed 3 games the following season. His production was down. Now he's coming off of 400 plus carries. That makes me more nervous than anything about 2,000 total yards or anything else. Plus he's 28 years old. McCaffrey, man, the first time he falls down and misses practice, you're going to see his ADP tank. But until that happens, he's absolutely worthy of being closer to a top 5 pick rather than a top 10 pick. I get it. People are scared. They don't want to have Christian McCaffrey on their team after what happened last year and in prior years, but you can't deny his upside. He can score like a top 6 fantasy quarterback from the running back position.
I will just say, according to my research this morning, McCaffrey has scored about a half point less per game in San Francisco than Barkley did last year. So,
and how many games is that, Heath, for Christian?
McCaffrey's played now 30 games in San Francisco, 31.
He averaged. That's a really. It is a very good stat. But in his best season, 2023, he averaged 24.7 fantasy points.
Right.
You're including the 4 games last.
You also left.
Not consider Saquon's best season.
He had to, okay. So if you take out the first game he played for the Niners, where he was limited, and the last game he played for the Niners, where he left in the second quarter, because Barkley didn't have any of those games in 2024.
Yeah,
I bet you it's about the same, if not McCaffrey a little higher. And I think you could look at the full season that he played, 24.7 fantasy points per game is better than the full season that Barkley played, and it's pretty obvious why. He had 67 catches in 16 games. I mean, we know he's going to catch more passes than Barkley. I don't think he has much more upside. He's not the 29-point scorer that he was. He's not getting 115 catches or whatever. But that was my
based on this receiving core. Who knows?
No, I mean this is not going to happen. But that was my that's my argument against having McCaffrey third overall. Is the upside isn't that much higher than the other running backs. You know, you could sit here and say, well,
Yes,
McCaffrey could score 28 points per game like he used to. He's not going to. It's just not happening. And so Bijan has similar upside, and Barkley has similar upside, and Gibbs might have similar upside. And it's like, well, then why am I even? You could say to me, why am I even taking McCaffrey third overall? It's probably because I don't really believe that because he was injured last year, he's likely to get injured this year. I just don't believe it. I mean, you could have looked at Derrick Henry coming off of his 8-game season and been like, well, he's 28 now and he's coming off an 8-game season. He's definitely more of an injury risk. He's played 2 full seasons since then. So I just don't buy it. I don't buy that he's an injury risk personally. So,
You don't buy that anyone's an injury risk.
not really. A few players, but not him.
Like
Yeah,
the guys
maybe-
that get hurt every year, for example.
Yeah, and even them, I like Higgins is probably an injury risk, but I don't draft him like he's one. You know, I pretty much don't care about injuries.
I think that's fine, but we have to remember what we started with was you asking a Twitter poll who was safer based on injury risk.
I don't think it's Barkley. I don't think it's either of them. I should have put neither, I guess. I should have done a better poll, but I don't think it's either of them. Anthony Richardson, though, that guy is injury prone. That one I buy. We got to talk about him when we talk about more risers. All right. Let's see, what should we do here? The news and notes? Sure, let's do the news and notes. So Shedeur Sanders has arm soreness. Matthew Stafford is being eased back in. We'll go to some running back news. Cole Thompson of Texans Wire says that Nick Chubb's burst is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, this is not from Cole Thompson, but Joe Mixon could be ready for week 1. He's making progress recovering from a foot and ankle injury. Dameon Pierce should be back during the preseason. So I didn't like hearing that Nick Chubb didn't have any burst, Jamie. Just one report. But, you know, Woody Marks got to be on the sleepers list right now, right?
At this point, it's just so wide open. Yes, Marks is definitely worth a late round flyer. You know, the fact that Mixon could be ready for at some point early in the season, like he's still the one you should be drafting first by far. And maybe the only one you should be drafting just with the chance of him playing. Like I actually drafted him in the flex leagues. It was round 8 and, you know, running backs went a little bit sooner than I expected. So I'm hopeful that at some point by week 4, I can potentially start him. I'm not expecting him week 1 to be in my starting lineup, but if you can draft him as a high-end reserve, like that's the smart way to go at this point.
I think his injury is worse now than it was last year, but last year it took him a while to even practice in Houston. I think it was till late August when he started practicing with them. And he went out in week 1 and had a monster game. Got hurt in week 2, missed a couple of games, came back, house of fire pretty much the rest of the year. Love that value of round 8. I would take him around earlier than that.
Wait, round 8 for Mixon.
That's
Oh,
where
I'd get him
Jamie
around
got him.
5.
That's what you said, right, dude?
Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that's why I liked your team.
Yeah, if you take Joe Burrow or Joe Mixon, if your name starts with Joe, Adam will like your team.
There we go. What else we got? A running back. Arizona apparently could use Trey Benson more. So, all right. Cam Scattaboo has a seemingly minor injury. Tank Bigsby.
I don't know if it's minor, to be honest with you. They're working out running backs today.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Scattaboo. Obviously, it's a big deal for Tyrone Tracy. Tank Bigsby running ahead of Travis Etienne continues to be the case. RJ Harvey could be the joker in the Denver offense.
But Evan was a joker.
Evan Ingram, yeah, they're all going to be the joker. And by the way, one of the news items I had from this show last year was Sean Payton praised his running backs and said Javonte Williams looks like a completely different player.
Well, he did look like a completely different player last year.
Sean Payton is not one to be trusted. He's a bit of a prone to hyperbole. Kobe Fleener. But RJ Harvey.
To my face, he said that.
Would you take RJ Harvey or Joe Mixon?
Harvey.
I will take Harvey right now, but that will change the minute Joe Mixon's back at practice.
Elijah Mitchell has been, from what I saw, Kansas City's number 2 running back. Did you
That's
see
interesting,
Heath?
Yes. I think it was Price Carter had said that it was basically a 1A, 1B with Pacheco and Hunt, and Mitchell was the third. His speculation was like Hunt on short yardage and passing downs.
Wow.
There was something I saw this morning that Pacheco's looked as good as he has been in running routes, and Mitchell comes with that in his game, which I don't think anybody would have said coming out of San Francisco, but hey, kudos to him if he's going to do that. Presper Smith has done some good things catching the ball too.
To those of you not named Adam, are you worried about there being too many cooks in this kitchen in Kansas City's backfield and therefore not drafting Pacheco early?
I think at Pacheco's cost, he's worth the risk. So you're getting him in round 6 or later. I'm fine with that. Just knowing whatever running backs are on the board at that point. But yeah, I think that's the earliest I would consider it. But yes, that's certainly because I know like Adam's very optimistic about Pacheco.
Well, I love his value.
But yeah,
I do think there are some concerns, but I don't really think he's got super hard competition. If he's back to himself, I think he's going to be a steal in round 6. Also, I feel like that ADP is getting higher.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope they cut Hunt or Mitchell, one of the two.
Yeah. Okay. Other running back news: James Cook missed practice for business reasons, so we know he wants a new contract. Wide receiver news: Khalil Shakir. This is actually a big deal. I should have brought this up earlier in the show. Khalil Shakir week to week with a high ankle sprain. Dave, your take on what this means, if anything, for fantasy?
We have seen high ankle sprains capsize people's fantasy seasons. So between this and Keon Coleman's progress, because he's been a guy with a lot of buzz in Buffalo, I'm not nearly as excited as drafting Mr. High Floor himself, Khalil Shakir.
Does anybody think Keon Coleman should be drafted ahead of Khalil Shakir?
I think we can get to that point.
Not yet.
I don't really want to draft either one of them.
Okay.
But Coleman, if you're drafting him at cost, is a good value. He's worth a dart throw at that point.
He's a great late round pick. Palmer's a great late round pick at this point, later than Coleman.
I've been there.
Oh,
I don't know if I trust that.
Let me go back to 2024. This was in my notes.
Yeah, no, I'm go ahead.
ESPN's Chris Rim on the Chargers wide receivers. Josh Palmer appears in position to be the number 1 target, but after that, it appears to be an open competition between Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, and DJ Chark.
Palmer's free on draft day, though. Easy got to cut. Hopefully it helps Kincaid.
Right. Yeah, you would think.
Who's back at practice?
AJ Brown has a hamstring injury.
I do think, but by the way, skipping over the James Cook thing is a little bit too much. Like this could be awful.
It could be great for Ray Davis.
Can be great for Ray Davis.
I don't know what leverage James Cook actually has, and he's scheduled to make more money this year than he's made in his career so far. So I have a hard time believing he's just going to give up game checks.
I don't think he's giving up game checks, but again, the history of these guys that have sat out practice for contract situations, whatever the case may be, is just what's happened to them. The last 6, 7 guys that have done it, only
besides
one.
Jamar Chase. Yeah.
Even Chase got off to a slow start.
He did.
But
does it mean
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything that Cook did practice for a little bit?
I have no idea. I mean, all I can tell you is the guys that have had contract situations that have forced them to miss practice, the results have not been good. And I think we're all kind of coming from a similar point here. Everything screams regression for Cook. And so now you're putting this on top of it. Like, it's just reason to be a little bit more concerned. Ray Davis had 3 games last year with double-digit carries. He scored 13.7 PPR points or more in all 3. He had the one game where Cook did not play week 6 against the Jets, and he scored 18-plus PPR points in that game.
Yeah. All right. And here's a quote from, A.J. Brown, hamstring injury, Devontae Smith back at practice. Here's a quote from Ricky Pearsall. Quote, "I just felt like I was behind the 8 ball. I like to say that I rolled out of bed and started running routes because I damn near did. You can't really rehab a gunshot wound. So I basically rolled out of bed and started running routes in week 7. From that week 7 and on, that was my training camp. Those practices in between before the games, that was my training camp for me." Interesting perspective there from Ricky Pearsall. Tight end news. Pittsburgh beat writer Mark Cabali called Pat Freiermuth the unquestioned number 1 tight end and the heartbeat of this offense. Cabali also said that Jaylen Warren will run out with the starters, but Caleb Johnson could get the bulk of the carries sooner rather than later. And he also says about Caleb Johnson, you quote, "You couldn't have asked for much more out of Johnson so far."
Yeah.
So I think
I'm kind of getting excited about him. I don't think I'm ever gonna like put him into round 4 or overreact like that. But I like that he's had a mostly good start to camp. And I'm thinking the Steelers are going to be one of those teams that use a lot of like 2 and 3 tight end personnel sets because of Jonnu and his versatility.
Well, did you see what they did last week?
Yeah, with 4 tight ends. I don't think they're going to do that very often, but that they can clearly, you know how Arthur Smith is with these guys. Like he'll line up Jonnu everywhere. He'll have a play where Jonnu's lined up at quarterback. It's ridiculous. But
What?
I think if they're going to play a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end formations, then that helps the run game, whoever's running it, because that's extra blockers. That's a win for Pittsburgh, whose defense, by the way, I mean, they're going up against Rodgers and DK, and I don't know really what else is amazing there. And I don't even know if Rodgers is amazing, but apparently the defense has been flying around in camp for Pittsburgh.
All right, let's get, sorry, Heath,
No,
I just want to get to the rankings, risers, and fallers. Miami offensive tackle Austin Jackson's out at least a few weeks with a leg injury. Listen to this. Devon Achane averaged 4.5 yards per carry with Jackson on the field and only 4.4 yards per carry with him off the field. But we don't want to see it. They have a bad offensive line. We don't want to see Austin Jackson. Right. Micah Parsons requested a trade that seemed like a long time ago, but we haven't had a show since then. And Atlanta rookie defensive end James Pierce is apparently having a very good camp. They traded a first-round pick and a second-round pick to move up for Pierce. All right, we're going to get to rankings, risers, and fallers. Anthony Richardson.
Raheem Morris, by the way, said still no update on Darnell Mooney, so hopefully he'll be back soon.
Anthony Richardson, Tank Bigsby, RJ Harvey, Nico Collins. These are some of the guys we'll talk about after this quick break on Fantasy Football Today.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, we'll go through these fairly quickly here, and whenever you guys feel like you want to expand, go for it. Jamie, your 2 quarterback risers are Anthony Richardson and Jordan Love.
Love, I think, was just having him too low to begin with, but I think also based on what 2023 and 2024 look like and sort of finding a middle ground of how much more they're going to throw after investing heavily in the draft in their receiving core, I'm hoping for a healthy Jordan Love, which can get him back to that 21, 22 point per game range. Just an easy late round quarterback to target. Not a top 12 guy for me, but somebody that's a good settle for guy and somebody to pair with, let's say, a Justin Fields or a Kyler Murray or a Drake May, those type of guys that have huge upside, but obviously a lot of downside based on what we've seen. In terms of Anthony Richardson, if he wins the starting job, he's going to be a cheat code for fantasy. Whatever you think of him, whatever many games he plays, whatever the potential outcome by the end of the season, if he gets a 4, 5, 6 game stretch of being the starting quarterback, like that could be 23, 24, 28 points per game just based on his legs. I think format matters, but he's just an easy late round pick, an easy guy to cut if you have to. But if you are inclined to take 2 quarterbacks and you have the right potential starter in place, like why not take a shot at him? Like I did this in the flex league, is 4 points per passing touchdown. I took Justin Fields, actually took him as a 7th quarterback because of the scoring format. And then with my second to last pick, I took Anthony Richardson. The guys that are still available on waivers, and this is part of it, see what your league is and who you're drafting with. It's going to sound funny, but Jared Goff's not get drafted. Tua's not drafted. Penix not drafted. Bryce Young not drafted. Like there's just so many easy fallback options that could be safer floors than Richardson, but obviously not as much of a ceiling.
Yeah, Richardson, man. If you're moving Richardson up, though, do you move down Downs, Pittman, Warren, or are we thinking because the reports have been pretty good? I mean, Saturday, I guess he had a really bad practice.
Yeah.
They're saying Richardson has improved. So, last year, if you take away week 4, which he left early, he was on pace for less than 3,000 passing yards. It's just pathetic. And 14 touchdowns. Just obviously had big rushing numbers, but
I feel like for me, I'm probably going to miss out on one of Downs, Pittman, or Warren having a solid season. I don't know about a huge season just because of the quarterbacks there, but one of them is going to be, I think, somewhat relevant, hopefully consistently all season. The ugly part could be is if it's a couple of games of each guy and, the quarterback play bringing them all down. It's really more about Richardson. Like as his own entity, he could be a great fantasy asset.
Yeah.
What he does for the collective is probably bad across the board. And I don't think it's necessarily a change with Daniel Jones either, based on his track record. Again, someone will do well. They're all great at cost. Like, you're not spending anything of a high draft pick on any of the top 3 receiving options. If Pittman's back is fine, he could easily be the best of the trio. Warren's unknown, especially his position, could be fantastic. Downs, as we see, and everybody who judges him can tell, the upside is huge. But again, his best numbers have come non-Richardson. So there's a lot to like about all 3 of them, because they're basically free on draft day. But for me, it's not necessarily Richardson up, other receivers down, or vice versa. I just think for me, I'm going to take a late round flyer on Richardson if I have the opportunity to, and I like my roster. It's not necessarily changing my opinion on the receiving core.
All right, Heath, you have Justin Fields as a rankings riser. You really? I thought he can get even higher in your rankings.
Well, I don't know how far back we're going with this, but I would say that I made the decision over the weekend to move him up to QB8.
Woo.
So just on the thought that the vast majority of the leagues people play in are still 1 quarterback leagues, especially for redraft purposes. And for a 1 quarterback league, I don't, for the same reason what Jamie was saying about Anthony Richardson, I don't think floor really matters all that much. And Fields has the opportunity to be a top 5 quarterback. So I left, of course, Mahomes ahead of him. I left Dak ahead of him. But then when I got to the Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff range, I just think Fields has more upside than all those guys. Okay.
You have him 8th. Dave and Jamie have Justin Fields 10th. And by the way,
I'm going to move him actually to 9th ahead of Prescott.
Okay. This is 6 point per passing touchdown that they're doing this. So I guess I have to ask you, is anybody going to take him over Mahomes in a 4 point per passing touchdown league?
No, but that was the draft that I just did. Mahomes won 6. I took Fields 7.
Okay.
What round did you take Fields in?
I want to say 10.
Okay. That's great. And then Heath, how soon is too soon for Fields in a 6?
I think I've got him at the end of round 7.
Yeah, that feels.
It's a totally different than what Jamie's drafting with analysts. Like most people, there's going to be 7 quarterbacks gone by round 7.
And it's 4 points, so it's going to push those guys down.
Right.
Also.
Right. But getting him in round 10 in a 4 point seems like a gift. Taking him in round 7 and a 6 point seems a little much.
Your turn. Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence are the quarterbacks you're moving up. You already talked about Kyler. So Trevor Lawrence, where's he?
A great camp for Travis Hunter so far when he's played offense. And I still believe he's going to play a lot of offense. Brian Thomas Jr. It's kind of going under the radar, but he's been having some great plays as well. We're not sure who's going to run the ball. It's probably going to be a committee. I think Trevor Lawrence, who has gotten some good reviews from the beat reporters in Jacksonville, I could see him having, and not the same type of upside as Richardson or even Fields, but like safer floor, might be able to average 20 fantasy points per game. Not somebody I'd be afraid to take with a late round pick to be my number 2 QB.
Yep. You are the high guy on Trevor Lawrence at 13th. Heath has him 15th. Jamie has Trevor Lawrence 16th. And like I said, we talked about Kyler Murray at the start of the show. So let's go to some running back risers. Dave, you've got RJ Harvey, Jordan Mason, and Jarquez Hunter. I think you already alluded to Hunter.
Yeah.
If you have Kyren Williams, though, and you want to handcuff him, are you going with Hunter or Corum? You going with Hunter?
Hunter, but it's with like my 3rd to last pick, 2nd to last pick.
Okay. RJ Harvey, you're moving up.
We talked about him already, and at first it seemed like he wasn't adapting as well as we thought he would in Broncos camp, and adding J.K. Dobbins sent me for a loop. But forget about what Sean Payton says. Everybody's talking about how he's picked it up and how he's doing a better job and making catches downfield. So that evidence is encouraging. And he's kind of like in the same spot where Omarion Hampton was for me a month ago, where he and Dobbins are probably going to split reps to begin the season. But then if Dobbins gets hurt, or if Harvey just plays to his speed and, better than expectations, he'll be the lead back, no question, in Denver. And we've seen it in Sean Payton's offense. We didn't see it last year, but the lead running back in Sean Payton's offenses in the past has been very, very good for fantasy. So he's actually my RB24. I'm starting to get a little nervous that he's too low, but he's definitely somebody that's got all kinds of upside and is still a good value if you're getting him at the 5-6 turn.
Yeah. What about in a half PPR league? Because I think we're expecting catches to really
Same thing. For me, it's the same thing.
for RJ Harvey. All right.
Yeah.
And Mason, we've addressed
Just
him.
more talk about a split backfield there.
Yeah.
Like there's a report, I think it was ESPN. Jamie, you can help me out on that if I'm wrong, but like RB1s, and it's just the drumbeat continues to get louder for Mason and quieter for Aaron Jones.
The report was that it should be more of a committee than what we've seen under this coaching staff, which is going into its fourth year, that they've never really had a committee, that it'll be more closer to 50-50 than
yeah. The only thing I would say is about continuing to move Aaron Jones down because of these reports is Aaron Jones has been in a committee almost his entire career.
That's true.
Like that's kind of the way he's functioned. So I still think he may turn into a good value.
That's what O'Connell was getting at. I mean, is basically they felt they gave him too much work last year, and all of his numbers were great. Like played through injury, career high in total touches. Like he did fantastic for them. And I think that's just a concern moving forward. And he said all this, again, I keep repeating this. He said all this prior to re-signing him. Like, clearly there were deals in place, but it was, we won't want to give him this much work. Oh, hey, let's go trade for a guy, bring in somebody else to give him work. And to Heath's point, like all of these reports, and I think just people realizing it, we haven't seen a lot of non-analysts, non-best ball, all these drafts, the majority of drafts that will happen, like where Aaron Jones ADP will probably settle because his name and what he did a year ago, plus the offense he plays in. But like he's settling to a point where it's hard to say that's bad cost because he's in that Pacheco, Pollard, Mixon range,
Round 6.
You don't have to necessarily draft him to be your starter if depending on how your team goes. And if he does hit in those pockets of games where he'll be great, he should be fantastic value.
Okay, that's Aaron Jones. Jamie, you're moving up Omarion Hampton. Well, Heath is moving up Kareem Hunt because you mentioned that you saw a report that he's basically working as 1A.
1B.
I'm sorry, 1B.
But
yeah.
But again, he's not a top 50 running back. It was just Jamie had listed all of the running backs that we were already.
Right. So Jamie's running back list, Omarion Hampton, who Heath is not moving up necessarily, or at least not as high as Dave and Jamie, but Dave and Jamie are thinking about Hampton maybe in the third round.
Definitely. Late round 3.
Tank Bigsby. So is he your highest ranked Jaguars running back, Jamie?
Yeah. It's hard to ignore just everything you're hearing now. I think from all accounts, we're going to see all 3 guys play, and Tootin got healthy over the weekend. So we'll see how much of a factor he has in this backfield at some point. But at least at the start of the season, for week 1, it sounds like Tank Bigsby is going to be the starting running back in a shared situation. To what degree, again, how much you want to value that. But in that next tier of guys, with the high-end backups that are going to matter to whatever degree, the Jordan Masons, the Tyjae Spears, the Charbonnets, those type of options, like Bigsby's now in that range, the Giants running backs, for example. So I think when you look at, Dave's talked about how the passing game should improve. I mean, Liam Cohen's offense is just going to be better for this Jacksonville team based on what we saw a year ago. So if the offensive line holds up, I do think his receiving totals are a little bit hard to gauge because at Auburn, he did a much better job than what he showed at Florida, at Jacksonville. And I think, I mentioned this previously, like it feels like it could be a Ken Walker situation where looked better catching the ball in college, didn't necessarily get those opportunities at the start of his NFL career. And then, there was something that changed for the Seahawks, and it was coaching change. And so maybe that's the same thing that happens for Tank in Jacksonville. And Popinski brings up an interesting name as well. They like LaQuint Allen also in that role too as a pass catcher. So it could be 4 guys at some point during the season. I don't think you want to overvalue Tank Bigsby too much, but if you're drafting him again as a high-end reserve, maybe a potential flex option early in the season, I think that's a good way to go.
You feel the same way about Jerome Ford? Is he behind that whole group because you have him as a riser?
I mean, right now he's behind them, but he's obviously, fastly moving up the ranking. Same with Dylan Sampson, because the longer this Quinshon Judkins thing plays out, obviously it's better for Ford, who by all accounts has had a good training camp once he came back from his injury that kept him off the start of the practice field at the starter camp. Deuce Staley is a running backs coach. He's got a great history with, getting a lot of production out of that position and glowing about Jerome Ford and really saying a lot of good things about Dylan Sampson. But Sampson, just based on his size. Dan's talked about this a lot with Jalen Wright. Like that system in Tennessee is not necessarily, I think, something you want to say, okay, these numbers lead to great production in the NFL because it's just easy to run for the Volunteers. But a good late round pick at this point. So both guys moving up, but Ford hard to ignore if Judson's going to miss the start of the season, maybe all of the season.
I heard the word fastly in there. I don't really think that's a word. I think, okay. All right. I can't be the only one that gets ripped on this show, right? Braylon Allen.
Yeah, because we never get critiques.
Well, not from me. Braylon Allen, Ray Davis.
Not from you.
I don't bust your chops that much, do I? Am I a chops buster?
Go ahead.
Okay.
It's
All right. Hey, listen, take it easy there, Christian Bale, wherever it was. Braylon Allen, Ray Davis,
I
and
mean, you just missed such a great opportunity to do your Bane impression.
I can't do it anymore. I can't do impressions anymore. I really stink at them. But Jamie's moving up Braylon Allen, who's getting good buzz, and Ray Davis because of James Cook and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I mean, really has got to be on your radar right now. Getting reps with the ones, which isn't a shock or anything, but Brian Robinson is not a special running back. So if he struggles, there's an opportunity. Eckler's there too. Let's not forget about him. All right, wide receivers. This is a really interesting list from Jamie. We got Nico Collins and Brian Thomas Jr. moving up. What do you got now for Nico and Brian Thomas Jr.?
I mean, Thomas, we talked about this last week with the report that Hunter is going to try and play every snap defensively. I think he's going to be good when he's on offense, but there's a clear path here to Thomas being the guy that he was at the end of last season because of just Trevor Lawrence being there, Liam Cohen's offense. It was always a good situation for Thomas to begin with, despite the addition of Travis Hunter. And if Hunter does not fulfill his prophecy to be the unicorn and play every snap, and maybe is better defensively than he is offensively, it just feels like we're going to get, targets funneled to Brian Thomas. And Dave said it like to what you brought up, Adam. The rookies always get overhyped. We don't hear a lot about the veterans when they're doing what they're supposed to do. And Thomas, I think, caught 2 touchdowns from Lawrence in their scrimmage the other day. Like, he's just been on fire. Nico was more just about adjusting those top tier wide receivers. Dave mentioned it, with the Stafford back injury, I'm a little concerned about Puka. So it's just moving Nico, who was already close to begin with, and Thomas ahead of Puka. I didn't want to say Puka's a faller because I don't think it's something that you should be overly concerned about. It's just me being more excited about Nico and Thomas than Puka at this point.
Nico and Thomas. Okay. So give me your top 5 wide receivers. Do you have that?
The top 5 are Chase, Lamb, Jefferson, Nico, Neighbors.
Okay.
Thomas is 6.
You got George Pickens moving up the rankings.
Yeah, it's sort of readjusting that back end wide receiver 2 group. So it's basically like 23 through 30-ish. So Jeudy fell for me. McLaurin is outside my top 24. It's obviously the offseason reports from Pickens have been great, and just the opportunity for him. So he's a back end wide receiver 2. Rice will move back into the top 24 if he's not facing a long suspension. So I have him ahead of Rice at this point. I'm probably the only one excited about Devontae Smith, just because, again, I can't have this narrative that Saquon may struggle and the run game may struggle, and it's not going to benefit both A.J. Brown and Smith. So Smith is another guy that moved up in that range also, but just moving Jeudy down a little bit for the concerns we talked about at the start of the show, moving Rice down, moving McLaurin way down. I have him at wide receiver 30 right now. So just that whole little group. We're basically the blob. The blob is always going to adjust. that 20 to 40 range will be the most rankings moves that I have throughout the course of the offseason.
And Heath, you're not yet in on George Pickens. You have him 36. Dave and Jamie have him 24th, 25th.
I think 36 is part of the blob.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Emeka Egbuka is not in the blob yet, but he, Chris Godwin, we still don't have a timetable for Chris Godwin to return. So Egbuka is a guy that steady drumbeat, I guess, probably going to be off the board around pick 100. He's a rankings riser for Jamie. I don't know. That might be a little high. Maybe 110. Luther Burden. All right. I think we need to talk about Chicago here, because you have Luther Burden as a rankings riser. Is he even top 40 at this point? No.
I think I have, no, not top 40.
48.
Yep.
But you have him one spot behind Egbuka. Dave has Burden 55. Heath has Burden 54. Heath has Rome Odunze as a rankings riser, moving Odunze, who's let's see. Odunze is up to, I can't spell his name right. 31 for you, Heath. 36 for Jamie. 40th for Dave. All right. A little exercise here. I don't do a lot of exercising, but here's a mental exercise. I tried to find over the last 5 years any team that had 2 wide receivers average at least 14 points per game in PPR and a tight end average at least 10 points per game. 10 points per game for a tight end is going to be a borderline top 10 to 12 guy.
Yep.
14 points per game for a wide receiver is going to be somewhere between wide receiver 20 and 30, depending on the year. So these are start-worthy guys, two wide receivers and a tight end. Over the last 5 years, guess how many teams? Oh, minimum 13 games played for all of the players. Because obviously injuries change things so much. But minimum 13 games played for all of the players. Guess how many teams had 2 receivers average 14 points and 1 tight end 10 points per game over the last 5 years?
There's only one that's come to my mind that might be close.
Who?
And that's Dallas with Cooper, Lamb, and Ferguson.
So
Or it might have been Schultz instead of Ferguson.
What's
give me the numbers again.
14 points per game for two wide receivers and 10 points per game for a tight end.
Philly.
They never met the requirements of everybody playing at least 13 games.
Right.
You think about how much Goddard being out boosted Devontae Smith. They were very close. They are the most encouraging example, I think, for the Bears this year.
But San Fran?
San Fran in 2023 is one of them. But Deebo Samuel had something like 250 yards and 5 touchdowns rushing. So they wouldn't have.
DJ Moore's lined up in the backfield. That could happen.
Yeah. Detroit last year had Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams, and Sam Laporta. Those are the only 2 teams that have done this. Lions and 49ers. How many passing yards for those teams? The Lions last year, 4,718 passing yards, 39 touchdowns. The 49ers, 4,577 yards, 33 touchdowns. If you're looking at this list, other teams that have been close, 2023 Eagles, 2023 Texans, with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. Schultz like barely right around 10 points per game. Eagles twice, 2023 and 2022. The Tom Brady Buccaneers of 2020 and 2021. They basically did it with Gronkowski, but they also had Antonio Brown on the team and Godwin and Evans. Everybody was missing some time. The 2020 Steelers and the 2021 Rams were close. The Rams had Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, who was wide receiver 1. Woods only played 9 games. I think Tyler Higbee did average 10 fantasy points per game. Here's the takeaway, though. The Steelers led the NFL in pass attempts in 2020. The Rams threw for 4,900 yards and 41 touchdowns. Pretty much any team that does this has a huge passing season or throws the ball a ton, but mostly has a huge passing season in terms of yards.
Duh.
God, Caleb Williams is having such a terrible camp right now after having a really bad rookie year. It's scary, right? I'm not saying you have to buy it. Maybe all this talent will elevate him. But can we get some good reports on Caleb Williams? Can he really deliver for DJ Moore or Rome Odunze or Colson Loveland or Luther Burden? It's tough.
Yeah, I just think you're asking if the question you asked at the end is a good one. Can he deliver for one of those guys or 2 of those guys? These guys aren't necessarily being drafted or ranked as if we actually believe all 3 of they're going to have 2 14-point per game wide receivers and a 10-point per game tight end.
I think they basically are. I think more yes. Odunze, no, but you're drafting him in a range of guys that you have him 2 spots behind Tetairoa, McMillan, and then Jamison Williams, right? Like if you're drafting Odunze 31st at wide receiver, you really want him to score 14 PPR fantasy points, at least 13 and a half.
I'm surprised you have Odunze ahead of Pickens by that much, that you have him ahead of Pickens.
I dropped DJ Moore and raised Odunze a little bit in the last week, so I'm lower on, and it's more just uncertainty. But I'm not probably drafting both of them. I just didn't know there should be quite as much separation between them as there is. I've been more skeptical, and like Pickens, I've moved up a little bit, but I've just been more skeptical that he's actually going to earn the type of targets that he needs to on a team with CeeDee Lamb. I think he'll have some huge spike weeks.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
Okay.
And the same for Odunze. I'm with you on that. Like, there's, I think, similar range of outcomes for both these guys. Like for me, I just buy into the quarterback and at least what I've seen. From
Yeah, I mean that's the huge differential.
I do think to your point, Adam, and Heath was on that path. Like no one's drafting these guys like you're drafting AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and even Goddard.
I don't know about that. I mean, Loveland.
Loveland
prior to this year.
Okay, they're like Odunze and Loveland are getting drafted sort of just behind the threshold that I'm talking about. If you think Luther Burden is going to matter and Colston Loveland's going to have a good rookie year, then Caleb Williams needs to have a good year, right? Because there's just not enough to go around.
The way that I come at it with the Bears, and there's probably a handful of other teams that are the same way. Like I want to take dart throws on Ben Johnson, and so I want to see if Loveland can become maybe Laporta, but a better version of that from a catches and yardage standpoint. I want to see if Luther Burden, because by all accounts he's the slot receiver at this point, based on how they're using DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, can he be St. Brown? So I'm going to take dart throws on those two guys at their price points. Like Odunze's a little tough to buy into because, like you said, he's in this range of guys that there's a lot of similar upside and maybe more certainty around him. DJ Moore is the toughest one for me to gauge because of when you have to buy into him. So it's like when you're comparing him to Cortland Sutton and DK Metcalf and Xavier Worthy / Rashee Rice, depending on how that all plays out, and Mike Evans and those type of receivers, like you can make the case for and against DJ Moore, comparatively to those guys based on what happened at the end of last season, your belief in maybe what Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson can become. Like there's all these different moving parts. And so the way I come at it with the Bears, like if I get DJ Moore at the right price, like we did the pick by pick, Adam, and all those receivers went off the board, and I was the one pick, I forget it, I think it was the 4 or 5 turn. You had just taken Sutton because you used my rankings right in front of me. It was kind of like a settle for pick because he was my best receiver on the board, and I wanted to take a receiver there because I didn't love the running back value. So it was like he's in that group of guys. But I think when it comes to, aside from him, the other three, like if Odunze falls to the right price, I'll buy. I'm certainly going to take shots on
what's the right
Loveland.
price?
And what's the price for Odunze?
Yeah, what's the right price?
I think round 7 for me is where I'll take a chance. And again, most drafts I see him go in that range or a little bit sooner. Anything after round 7 to me is easy. Like I don't want to keep bringing up my drafts, but I did the flex leagues where you do not have to play a tight end. I wanted Luther Burden. Stupid Alfredo Brown stolen from me. And then don't play a tight end. I took a chance on Loveland. It's an easy flex play. It was like round 13, I think, round 14 maybe of a 16-round draft. Like, why not? If he becomes that guy, like that's an easy 12 or half PPR, 10, 11 half PPR points if he's that good.
Okay, but you can make that case about so many guys. And the thing is, what I'm saying is, they've never had a 4,000-yard passer in their history. We probably need Caleb Williams to throw for like 4,200 yards, I think, to have, and I don't know. It's okay. I'm not saying it well, but the bottom line is it's risky, I think, to spend significant draft capital on the Bears. I can't argue with you taking late round picks, but if they have 4 good pass catchers, Caleb Williams better have a damn good year. It's going to be tough for anyone.
If they have 4 good pass catchers, he will have a damn good year.
If they have, if these guys are as good as we say, and they're all competing for targets, then there may not be enough. There may not be enough to go around. Caleb Williams could crush these 4 guys if he doesn't improve. And the fact that he's been horrible in camp after a bad rookie year is troubling.
Well, I don't care really at all about the camp stuff with Caleb Williams yet. But I think that what's more likely, and this is the case for a lot of teams. It used to be the case for the 49ers, and it's probably the case for the Chiefs right now because the Chiefs are the one team actually being drafted to have 2 wide receivers score more than 14 fantasy points per game and a tight end score 12.
That's a good point.
But what's probably going to happen is one of these guys is going to really just stink.
Yeah.
I think multiple guys will stink.
Pick the one you believe in.
Not 3.
I think two of the Bears guys are going to stink. And it may be at different times during the season. Like DJ Moore may get off to a great start because he's the most proven, and then Odunze and Burden by the end of the season, or Burden and Loveland. I think that I was thinking about the Browns conversation to start the show. Like Jeudy is Moore, Tillman is Odunze or Burden, Deontay Johnson, and it's easy to make the Njoku Loveland comparison too, based on how they're getting drafted. Like it's very similar. Like crappy quarterback situation could derail all of this easily.
And yet Flacco might throw for more yards and touchdowns than Caleb Williams.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said might.
And let's see. Demario Douglas, Jamie's been talking about that for a couple weeks. Dave has Matthew Golden and Keon Coleman as risers. Do you also have Matthew Golden as your top ranked Packers receiver?
Yes. Yeah. It's been that way for a while. Just the fact that he's got a great type of skill set that is it's unique to the Packers right now. It wasn't unique to them before because they had Christian Watson, but Watson clearly not healthy and not ready to go week 1 as of this podcast. And Golden, the one thing that I was worried about him in the draft process is, do you evaluate him based only on his last 10 games in Texas when he really had a big opportunity? And you throw away the other games at Texas plus what he did at the University of Houston? And it seems like he's more of that receiver the last 10 games. And they've been talking about how dialed in he's been and, staying in close contact with Jordan Love. And these are all things that you love to hear about and read about. But what he's doing on the field is also a positive. I can't rule out that if Caleb doesn't turn it around and there aren't more stacked days for the Bears offense, why would you not draft the number 1 receiver for Green Bay over the number 2 question mark receiver for Chicago? So Golden could jump Roma Dunze at some point. And Keon Coleman, if he keeps stacking days, I think that's a harder sell to put him over Roma Dunze. But what if he ends up being the number 1 receiver for the Bills?
I've not been the biggest Caleb Williams backer, so I don't want to get too far over my skis here, but we're on year 6 of giving Trevor Lawrence one more chance. I don't understand why
we wouldn't be giving Lawrence a chance
on Caleb Williams so fast
I'm not
after
counting
a
him
week and a half of bad practices, and a couple of them apparently were okay. He had a bad rookie year. It's the first couple of weeks of training camp in a new offense.
Okay.
If you thought this guy was a generational talent 18 months ago, I don't think we should be poo-pooing him the way we are right now. This could be one of those things that we look back in October and say, LOL, remember when we thought Caleb Williams was going to be terrible because he had 10 bad practices?
I completely agree with that.
Sure.
It would be nice for him to do something good.
And there is still time for him to do something good. And this is to Heath's point as well. If Shane Waldron is his play caller, I don't know if we have much faith in Caleb Williams getting workarounds for the things that he's not good at. But Ben Johnson's his play caller and play designer, and it's a new playbook. And maybe that's why he's off to a slow start. Maybe you're absolutely right. But I do think that Ben Johnson will probably dial up a lot more to highlight what Caleb is good at. And it's going to be those short, quick throws, I would imagine. And that would be great for DJ Moore.
Yeah.
That could be really good for Colson Loveland. I don't know if it's going to be that good for Roma Dunze. We just have to really take it day by day, week by week in training camp and make the best educated guess we can by the end.
All right. We're going to skip Fallers today. We're going long here. We have a show at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. And Heath, you have Roma Dunze as a riser. You talked about that. You talked about McMillan, Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Waddle are the last 2 guys.
I already talked about Tillman with Jerry Jeudy, and I've just kind of slowly readjusted the lost target share for Jonnu Smith, and I think I probably gave a little bit too much to Darren Waller when he signed, even though I didn't give him near as much as you would have liked at him. And I think there's a good chance this offense goes back to more of a ignore the tight end position, which is great for Jalen Waddle. And there's always the possibility that Tyreek just disappears at some point during the season, and Jalen Waddle is the top 5 wide receiver.
Would you rather have Waddle or Odunze?
Waddle.
Yes.
Okay. Would you rather have Waddle or hold on one second. Let me get a good one here. Waddle or Zay Flowers?
Waddle.
Waddle or a rookie receiver?
Waddle or Travis Hunter, yeah.
Waddle's over the rookies for me.
I'll take the rookies. McMillan and Hunter,
rookies?
just those 2, not all
Okay.
of them.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow with the first part of a 2-part running backs preview. We'll give you kind of the lay of the land of the position, some sleepers, breakouts, and busts. We'll talk about the early round guys, and we'll see you then. Have a good one. Also, 1 p.m. Eastern today on CBS Sports Network, and on Wednesday, same thing. See you then.